What is up guys, Andy Forrest Team Runner here. Welcome back to another video, and today I'm giving you guys my first impressions of the 361 Centauri. So I've been testing this shoe out since mid-December, managed to get 3 runs in it, and now it's had its official launch on January the 1st. I'm delighted to bring you guys my first impressions of this shoe. As always with first impressions videos, we'll go through the technical overview first before sharing how I've been getting on with the 361 Centauri. So if you're excited for today's video guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and as always we'll start with the tech. So let's kickstart by saying I went true to size in this shoe, UK size 13, and it fits true to size. We're talking about a 9mm heel to toe drop, 31mm of stack in the heel, 22 in the forefoot. And in my UK size 13, it comes in at 359 grams or 12.7 ounces. And as always, we'll work our way from the heel counter area, talk about the ankle collar, the tongue, the lacing, the upper, the midsole, and finally finish off with the outsole. So let's start at the back here. A relatively rigid heel counter to give you guys a bit of structure and stability. It's obviously a neutral running shoe, but you're finding more and more these days a lot of companies are putting a little bit of something back here just to provide some kind of structure in the back and keep that ankle nice and secure. No different in this shoe. We have quite a relatively substantial heel cup buried in the material here. Follow my finger trace all the way up here, all the way down here, the other side to here. If I give it a push, nothing moves. So you can see there we've got a really rigid heel counter. We've got a heel flare here to get your feet in nice and easy, and we have a lovely cut ankle groove, sits under the ankle bone nicely, and a good amount of padding there again, quite plush. Certainly decent for a daily trainer, which is exactly what this is, and we'll get onto the usage and everything in my first impressions. But so far so good with the back section of the shoe. In terms of the tongue, it's quite a short tongue. It doesn't come up much further than there, but it does sit over the top of the foot nicely. Relatively thin padding. It is not gusseted, but it is held nicely in place. You can see here, halfway down the eyelet chain, just there, there is a loop for you to feed the laces through, and it sits in nicely. Had no slippage left or right, so that worked really nicely as well. Standard lacing system, nothing flashy there, does the job, and again I've got a really solid lockdown. These, unlike the Speed 3s which I've recently reviewed, they're not stretchy laces, very much normal, and again I didn't have any issues with those coming undone on the run as well. And there is, if you wish, an extra eyelet for the runner's knot. In terms of the upper, we're talking about an engineered knit upper which goes all the way around. We've got 3D printed 361 logos, medial and lateral sides here, with a bit of reflective work on the back. But in terms of the rest of the upper, it's pretty much a one-piece upper, bar the embedded heel cup at the back. This is all knit across the front, and also the tongue feels a little bit like knit material as well, especially down at the base here. Obviously it's different to what we're using on the top here, but it does feel like that they've used a complete knit pattern, shall we say, or complete knit design with this shoe. Very breathable, very comfortable. We'll get onto width and fitting and all that stuff shortly in the first impressions, but in terms of the upper, again, really nice job. We have Engage midsole, that's what they're calling it. It's a full TPE single piece midsole, which I'm going to be honest with you, just like in some daily trainers and firmer midsoles, after the first run I was kind of like, oh, this isn't very responsive, this isn't bouncing back. It did take that first run to bed in. I'm grateful I didn't record it straight after that, otherwise I'd be mirroring what I said in the Shift 3 review, which is I hope this midsole breaks in. It does is the answer to that. The second and third run, much more bouncier, much more softer, and a much more comfortable and cushioned ride. We've got an Ortholite insole in here as well. Let's see if I can get it out. There we go, which sits inside nicely. That is really comfortable as well. So that combined with the midsole, it's just started to open up after the second and third run. And finally, we've got some high abrasion rubber on the outsole with some flex grooves cut in there for a more natural foot strike. Rolls through the gait cycle nicely, and again, as I said, there's some decent rubber coverage there. It's not thick rubber, but it is meant to be high abrasion, so again, they're saving a little bit of weight there. But yeah, we'll see how that does in terms of durability as time goes on. So that is it for the tech. So on to my first impressions. How have I found this shoe? Well, quick first disclaimer, this is a shoe that was indeed sent to me by 361 for the purpose of review, if I can put my teeth back in. However, they have no editorial control over this video, and they certainly won't see anything about my thoughts before you guys see it here on YouTube. However, just a massive thanks to them for sending me out this shoe to test early as well, before release. That was really exciting. I'm grateful to be able to put in a few runs in it now before delivering my thoughts. I'm going to give you guys the sliding scale as to where I use this shoe that I feel is quite similar to, and the pros and cons of this shoe. So let's give you that sliding scale. It's something I used in the speeds. I've kind of done it before in videos. It's a good visual. We're talking easy runs, we're talking VO2 max intervals, the real fast stuff up here. And in between, we've got moderate running, or steady running, we've got marathon pace, half marathon, 10K, 5K, and those intervals. I'm gonna say, we're talking a very much easy running shoe. In the weight category that it's in, it does kind of fit that top end of daily trainer weight for me. I kind of feel like anything over 360 grams really is getting to a category of it's really got to be a good shoe if it's going to be. And now I've run in 400 gram plus shoes and really enjoyed them. The 880 version 12 is a great example, but I've run in a lot the Miler from Nike, which I did not like. And that is the danger when you get into that territory. However, keeping it in that 330 to 360 range in my UK size 13 is a decent realm to be in. That being said, with it being that top end, I did find that when I did try and put a few surges in the shoe and just kind of pick up the pace a little bit, I did find that it wasn't quite as responsive as some of the other shoes that I use from a moderate perspective. Therefore, I find it just a very comfy, nice daily trainer to use on those easy paces. Pegasus. First shoe that came to mind when I tried it on, in terms of the silhouette, the shape, the feel, everything about it, similar geometry, similar kind of drop, and just the way it felt, quite a shallow toe box, but roomy toe box. The knit upper spreads nicely, it molds. I have wider feet, so I had lots of room in the toe box, which is interesting because, let me show you, a very wide midfoot here, nice and stable platform, but then up here, it doesn't widen that much, or that's to the illusion because that's an optical illusion to me, for me anyway, because it's maybe because it's wide here and because it doesn't look to widen that much up here. I'm thinking, oh, it's a bit narrower, but because it's already a lot wider here than some other shoes, maybe that is wide. Do you get what I'm trying to say? It looks, compare that to the top end here with the toe box right across where your widest part of the foot is. It looks on the narrower side, but actually it isn't, and it felt really good. The knit upper wrapped around the foot nicely, and it worked really well. And as I said, this wide base here just meant it was nice and stable to run in. And again, I think with this kind of trend that we've got a lot of shoes going wider in the midfoot there, just to add that little bit of stability. And what I think it does is it brings that kind of really mild stability runner into the realm of being able to try these types of shoes. That's just my opinion. And what I've seen a kind of trend from running shoe companies doing in 2022. That being said, as I said, it's definitely an easy day trainer, and for me it's a preferred option over the Pegasus. I was never a fan of the 37. 38 got better when it put the AirPod in the forefoot, just a little bit softer. I gather they've made great improvements in the 39. Haven't tried it, so can't comment. but when I think back to comparing the 37 and 38, I think I prefer this midsole to the React midsole, especially after the second and third run, because it really started to open up, soften up, and it felt really, really good. So in terms of sliding scale, it's an easy run shoe. In terms of similarities, we're talking Pegasus. And yeah, I really don't have that much more to say on it other than I've enjoyed running in it. And I think what I'd like to extend and make you guys think about when you come to watch these shoe reviews, because I consume shoe reviews, as do you. And I always think to myself, I must follow that person on Strava to see if they continue running in that shoe, or do they have a platform where they share what shoes they're running in, how many miles they're putting in them. Because with the first impressions, I only have to put one run in this shoe, but I've actually, over the last couple of weeks, chosen to run in this thing over the Shift, not for particularly personal preference, but because I like them on the same level. And you guys know how much I've been enjoying the Shift. That equates to how much I've been enjoying this shoe as well. So I kind of feel like I've got two shoes now in my easy day arsenal that just feel really, really good. They feel like, I'm not sure which one I want to go for. It depends what I want that day. The Shift is firmer than this thing. This is slightly softer. The midsole has opened up nicely, and I am delighted for that, as I said, because I was a bit worried with the firmer start. But overall, a solid, without being spectacular, daily trainer. The only downside, I think it's going to be difficult to run in the shoe in really heavy, wet conditions, I should say. Knit uppers, absorbing water. I think this thing could put on some serious weight if you're running out there in some kind of monsoon type of British weather. I think it's kind of more of a spring, summer and autumn shoe. We'll see how it goes. I do intend on trying it out there in the wetter weather, but I'm certainly not going to kind of push that. I feel like in previous knitted upper shoes, I have found that they really do absorb the water and don't let as much out. So that's the only downside that I can think to this thing at the moment. Other than that, after 3 runs, I've thoroughly enjoyed the ride in the 361 Centauri so far. So that's it for my first impressions of this shoe. Plenty more miles to come, and I'd love to hear 2 things from you guys. Number 1, have you ever tried a 361 shoe? I know they have a really popular carbon plate option. I'd love to hear if you've tried the Flame. And secondly, have you tried this shoe? It's just come out January the 1st. I'd love to hear if you grabbed a pair, and if you did, what your thoughts are. Are they similar to mine, or have you got a different opinion? I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments below. That's it for me today, guys. If you enjoyed today's video, please do give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Until then.